What's going on, everybody? My name is Jason. I work at All Out Bikes in Four Oaks, North Carolina, and today we're going to get this skate bike actually rideable. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do a kind of a reimagined skate bike. I'm going with a bigger wheel. I'm going with bigger trucks because this is actually kind of difficult to ride, and also with the smaller wheels, the more narrow wheelbase, it seems to, not ride as easily as I think it could. So what we're going to be doing here is on this skate bike, I welded this front piece on. It's a little bit crooked. We're going to fix that. It's also too low because these cranks actually make contact with the concrete there, which you can imagine is a bit of a problem. Whenever you actually try to steer this and pedal at the same time, it actually hits the concrete. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting an angle grinder, and what I've got here is I've got a Power Pro Craft angle grinder that a friend of mine actually bought from Tractor Supply. He used it for a short time, and it started making the worst racket. The blade was flopping all around, and he threw it away out front, and I saw it kind of sticking out of the trash can. And I asked him, "Are you throwing this away?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's broken. You can have it if you want." So I'm like, "Great." I started to uh, take it apart to see what was going on because I was figuring, hey, it's just the bearing that's gone bad. I have one that looks exactly like this. I'm talking about the same body and everything, and it works great. And I opened this up, and what I saw was a little surprising. There was no bearing in this thing. There was a composite type bushing that the little spindle spun on, and that bushing had melted, and it was making the blade flop around. And I was like, wow, that is not nothing like mine. Mine has a bearing in it. So I actually noticed that it was a round spot where this composite bushing was inside. So I measured it, and then I measured the spindle, and I went to go check, and it, it was the same exact size bearing that I actually had in stock. Later on, I took my other one apart, and it had the bearing in there, the one that was the same size as this. So probably made in the same factory, but they cut corners and put a composite bushing in here. Well, I put a new bearing in this thing. This thing works great. So we're going to be using this to remove this arm here. I'm going to I'm going to grind the welds away. And then we're going to go ahead and clean up the frame here and make it look a lot better. So let me go ahead and get my eye protection. I don't have it with me. And let's go ahead and get this removed so that we can re-weld it, raise it up a little bit, clean the frame, and maybe install the brakes and take it for a test ride. I'm going to probably just do another frame later on that's a little bit taller. Let's see how this does with the existing seat post on there and just everything else right. So join me and let's see if we can make this work. Okay, guys, so I've got this all cleaned up, and the plan is, excuse that. All right, so it was welded right here, and I'm going to move it all the way down to the bottom bracket, which I'll be able to weld, and that'll add a little bit more stiffness to it. So that should make a difference, because whenever I put the pedals on, they're not actually going to be hitting the ground. They're still going to be pretty close. However, I just don't think we can get it up to here. I think that's just a little too much. So I think we're going to have to settle for this right here, and then maybe some shorter cranks. Now that we've got this all cleaned up, let's go ahead and get this tack welded in place. Now, where I had it before, I actually had it all the way up here. And of course the cranks were making contact. I'm going to move it all the way down here as far as it'll go. And the crank isn't touching. It's still getting a little close. And I'm a little worried about that. But big thing is I'm going to try to weld this thing on straight. I didn't do such a good job last time. We also need to fill in this hole over here. So let me get my helmet on and let's get to welding. My gas is on. I've got the right helmet. Let's turn this on. So we need to get my ground on. I'm having a hard time with my helmet here, guys. Okay. Let's just attach it up here. And we are going to go all the way down, guys. Right there. So I'm going to try to straighten this up and try to make sure the wheels are straight. It's going to get hot. All right, now let's eyeball it. So yeah, we're definitely crooked here. Wow, how in the world did I get this crooked? Okay. I got a big gap on the other side. I also need to, you know what? I'm just gonna go with it. is really far off to the side. I'm going to get a hammer and I'm going to kind of flatten that side out a little bit. Dang. Okay. Okay. I know this isn't the best. We've got some gapping over here, but this looks like it's relatively straight. We'll find out. Last time it was relatively straight as well, and we see what I'm doing right here. First, it was also relatively tall enough, and I'm not sure that this is going to be tall enough. Where's my gloves? But let's get this done. Fill in this hole over here. Hook up the brakes and go for a test ride. Okay. All right. Let's start welding. I found the vent hole. All right, I'm having to do what they call stitch welding. because this tubing is thin. Also, there's a bit of a gap in there. So what I do is I start to weld in one spot where there's a puddle, but I stop before it gets too hot because it's going to burn through. So it's just puddle, let off, go halfway down so I'm covering half the puddle again, hit it, stop, and repeat. You can also hear when it's kind of burning through because you hear that hollow sound, and that's what's happening is I'm going in between the two pieces of metal, which of course isn't good. Um, but this is just a project. Where did my wire brush go? Oh, fell. Dang it, guys, I've got one heck of a breeze going on here. My welds are looking horrible. The air is blowing the argon gas away from my work. Wow, that is just embarrassing. I'll stop right now. All right. Wow, that's some ugly work. Started out good, ended badly. All right. So here's what we got here. It's still definitely twisted. We'll have to see what we can do about that. But, alright, that's rideable. I'm glad my bad welds are going to be covered up by my gear there. Okay. Let's fill in that hole and put the cranks back on and see about hooking up the brakes. Put some grease in here. We're going to put some grease on the bearings. We are going to install the bearings. Guess I should have cleaned this a little bit more. Okay. Now we're going to install the brake handle onto the seat post. It's a little snug, but that's good. We're actually going to go above the safety line. There's lines right there. This isn't actually going to be ridden that hard. We'll try to find a longer seat post for this later. Okay, here's the old brake lever from the Miraco. We're going to just get it put on there as far as possible. Okay. The plan is to run the cable along the side here and onto this right here, if it'll work. And it's going to be kind of tough because that brake is right there. Wow, there's just not a lot of room. We're having a bit of an issue. The chain ring is too close to the brake right there, so I can't do what I want to do. So I'm going to try to take this bolt out, and then I'm going to install this right here with a little clip. I'm going to have to drill that hole bigger to make this work, and then I'm going to use a cable NARP to clamp there, and that way the brake cable will actually be on the non-drive side instead of the drive side, which will give me more room. Well, this has actually turned out, I think, pretty good. With the cranks higher up, they're not hitting the ground anymore. I was also able to align this a little bit better. It still needs to be aligned a little bit, but for testing purposes, it'll be, just fine. Here's the original Minson skate bike right next to the, we'll say, my changes to the skate bike, which is mostly getting it bigger, putting much better brakes on here. Now, one of the things that I think is so much better is this handle. If you wanted to, you could move that handle anywhere you wanted to. Oh, all I've got is my adjustable wrench. So you could actually leave it just like where the Minson is, just like right under the seat. Or what I love about this is you can change the height of it. Let me loosen this up a little bit more. You could actually lower it, you could raise it, or what I love is you can actually reposition this brake lever where you can put it just right here. You could do it behind. You could actually move this thing anywhere you want, which I think is a huge improvement over the Minson, and the fact that the brakes on this thing actually work, so you can actually lock up the wheel easily, whereas this one, not so easily. So let me tighten this thing back up, and let's take this thing for a test ride and see. I've got a helmet. Now, it's not my helmet, it's just one of the test ride helmets. I could not get to my helmet, so I'm just using this one, which does not fit me great, but it's not going anywhere. Let's take this thing for a spin. First thing, let's try taking this Minson out for a ride. Alright, let's go. Oh, man. Sorry for the unsteady camera here. This Minson is kind of hard to ride. Wow. Now, I'm sure part of the challenge, or part of the fun of this, was conquering the, I gotta lean back, I remember. Okay. You know what? I don't want to damage this Minson, because it's pretty cool that it's old. It's from like 1983. Let's try this. What am I going to call it? Well, it's the Miraco skate bike, but let's try this one. Now, the cranks, I can already tell, are too tall, but let's go for it. All right, so far so good. It's turning, it's riding. Let's go between these poles. I can actually guide it. I'm liking this. This is actually pretty good. It's like NASCAR. I'm just taking left-hand turns. But actually, this is good. Let's go right. Hey, now let's go left again. Okay, you can only turn so far before you start to tip over. Actually, it's okay that the seat's a little lower, although I want to get one that's taller. this is actually pretty good. Let's try out the brakes. Oh, looky there. I can actually lock up the wheel. You couldn't do that with the Menson. Okay, I'm going to change directions. Just make sure it goes right. Alright. And it does indeed go left and right. Let's try doing kind of like a figure eight. Let's turn left now. Let's not hit the truck. We're going to hit our emergency brakes. Alright. You know, I'm happy with this progress. If y'all enjoyed this project, I still have some changes that I need to do. We need to shorten the cranks because the cranks are too long. I also need to reinforce this part here a little bit more, and it needs to be a little bit bigger. But all in all, I love this one more than this one. I think this one's cooler because it's old. This one is just a monstrosity, but hey, it was fun making it. I'm not done yet. I think we're going to have some other skate bikes. Maybe a smaller one. Maybe the world's smallest skate bike. Or a bigger one. So if you enjoyed this content, please leave me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe because that really helps out the channel. Check out some of the other videos on the corner of the screen. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you later. Thanks.